What's up, Taiwan? I'm Louise with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. We start with the fight for marriage rights. And Taiwan, despite being the first country in Asia to legalize same-sex marriage, still lacks full equality for couples from opposite sides of the strait. Louise went to a court in Taipei that's hearing the case of one couple who's still fighting.
The fight for full marriage equality in Taiwan continues. Here at this court in Taipei, same-sex couple Ryan and Rai are taking their case to the next level after being denied the right to marry due to Rai's Chinese nationality.
就希望我们能够跟所有的台湾人一样呢，可以拥有真正平等的结婚的权利。
要求平等结婚，要求平等结婚。
It's one of the remaining holes in Taiwan's legal systems for same-sex couples. Despite the landmark ruling legalizing same-sex marriage in 2019 and another affording most foreign citizens the same rights in 2023, couples involving Chinese nationals are still unable to marry, mostly due to bureaucracy.
Actually, the situation is quite ridiculous. So it's totally administrative barrier. And I think this is kind of a problem of political will. Yeah, actually, we've got everything to get a permission for the reunion.
Now this couple's appeal is being discussed at one of the highest courts in Taiwan. Results are expected in about a month's time. And with a strong legal case and support from several rights groups, there's a sense of confidence in the air.
I think the result, should be positive.
It's one of two such cases going through the courts this summer. Jim Law and his Chinese partner will also have their case heard, which Law hopes will bring an end to a long and frustrating journey.
别人结婚只要去户政事务所就好，那我们结婚是要来到法院，然后是要打诉讼，然后是要等待下一个开庭日期是什么时候，然后并且要面对不确定，或者是就是有可能这个最后的结果是不一定是如我们所愿的，所以就是会很忐忑，然后会很紧张，然后也会很难过。
And if either case is successful, they'll become the first cross-strait same-sex couple to marry in Taiwan, potentially setting a new precedent for others like them in the future. Leon Lien and Louise in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's ruling Democratic Progressive Party has filed a challenge against recent legislative reforms with the Constitutional Court. They say the changes threaten the country's constitution.
宪法已经失血了。 宪法进入 ICU 加护病房，宪法即将装上了 ECMO， 我们要抢救宪法。所有的违宪乱政，所有的作为，因为已经侵犯到行政权，侵犯到司法权，侵犯到监察权。
The reforms, which took force on Wednesday, expands the legislature's power by allowing lawmakers to question people under threat of fines or prison. They also give the legislature broad investigative authority and require the president to report to and take questions from lawmakers. Taiwan's opposition says the reforms are necessary to hold the government accountable. The Defense Ministry reported almost 36 Chinese military aircraft and 7 naval ships near Taiwan. 35 Chinese aircraft were spotted operating around Taiwan on Wednesday. 33 of these crossed the median line of the country's air defense identification zone. This area is not Taiwan's sovereign airspace, but is used by the military for defensive purposes. The aircraft were part of joint patrols with other Chinese ships. Taiwan monitored the activity with aircraft and radar systems. Taiwan's defense minister says China's Coast Guard is regularly entering restricted waters around the outlying islands of Jinmen. Wellington Gu told lawmakers that China is attempting to establish a new normal by ignoring banned and restricted waters in the area. Jinmen lies closer to the Chinese coast than the Taiwanese mainland, but is controlled by Taiwan. On Tuesday, 4 Chinese Coast Guard vessels were spotted near Jinmen. The Coast Guard sent patrol boats to monitor them, but Gu says Taiwan will deal with military ships differently.
如果有军用的舰艇进入进行式水域，我们就一定会负责来将这个越界进入我进行式水域来依照这个土化状况处置规定来加以处理。
Prosecutors are investigating a partial train derailment that left several people injured. The state-run rail company says it was following procedure at the time of the accident, but a whistleblower says it could have been prevented. John Van Trieste reports.
A swollen river in eastern Taiwan overflows, causing a rock slide onto these railroad tracks. The state-run rail company's own CCTV camera caught this footage last Friday, but a whistleblower inside the company says no one seems to have been monitoring the feed. 19 minutes later, an oncoming train crashed into the rocks on the track, derailing and injuring several passengers.
发生土石流到出了事故，总共足足有接近20分钟的时间。监控系统的观看人员，他是专职人员，那这20分钟到底人在哪里？
The Taiwan Railway Corporation says the CCTV camera that caught the footage isn't there to watch for landslides, and that staff only monitor it in certain situations.
我们这个画面是辅助我们看水情，就是说这个地方可以看得到大清水溪的水流状况。那我们的雨情系统，气象署有设置一个雨情系统，也没有达到预警值，所以说是按照现行的 SOP 是不需要去调阅。
But prosecutors are launching a probe into whether the rail company was negligent.
我们还是会依照台铁公司相关的作业程序，以了解该人员有没有应该尽到的这个确认以及监控的责任，然后并且厘清他是否因此疏失而造成相关的意外伤亡。
But landslides are common in eastern Taiwan, whether from flooding like last week or from earthquakes like the magnitude 7.2 tremor in April. As prosecutors look into last Friday's accident, the hope is that their findings will change policies and help prevent similar accidents from happening in the future. Eason Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
A 20-year-old man who went on a stabbing spree on a central Taiwan subway has been charged with attempted murder. Prosecutors say the man, surnamed Hong, planned the attack and have deemed him mentally fit to stand trial. Hung boarded the Taichung metro on May the 21st and began attacking passengers with knives. 3 people were injured, 2 of them were hospitalized. Prosecutors say Hong deliberately chose to attack on the 10th anniversary of a stabbing on the Taipei metro that left 4 people dead. 2 former university administrators and an ex-government official are heading to jail for their role in exploiting students from Uganda. The students were lured to Taiwan in 2019 with promises of scholarships and work experience. Instead, they were forced to work long hours in factories to repay their central Taiwan school fees. The court overseeing the case says the defendants engaged in exploitation and trafficking. The sentences it's handed out range from 2 to 7 years and come with fines. Your daily cup of coffee may be getting pricier as one of the world's top coffee producers feels the effects of a months-long drought. Tiffany Wong reports.
Water, an ever more precious resource for coffee farmers in central Vietnam. After Brazil, they're the world's largest producer, but they've been facing low yields due to a months-long drought. Farmers say production is down by almost half compared to last year, driving up the beans' prices.
Giá tăng thì người nông dân thì cũng mừng thôi, nhưng mà so với cái hạn hán này thì cũng không mừng cho lắm. Vì là giá tăng thì cái sản lượng nó sẽ giảm lại ấy.
Most of the coffee beans produced here are Robusta, usually considered an inferior variety to Arabica. But it's the variety mass consumed around the world in espressos and instant coffees. Farmers here are now trying to find new ways to keep their coffee plants growing, even as the climate changes.
Về thảm thực vật ở trên cái vườn cây mình không có dọn nó đi, mình giữ nguyên một cái lớp cỏ, nó giữ cho cái vườn cây nó luôn luôn tươi mát, và khi chỉ cần mình tưới một cái lượng nước nhỏ thôi là nó cũng đủ để nó giữ ẩm cho cái vườn cà phê rồi, thì mình nghĩ đó là một trong những cái biện pháp mà làm tăng chất lượng cà phê, tăng sản lượng cà phê và cũng ít bị tác động bởi khí hậu nóng.
And after the drought came the rains, and farmers anticipate more extreme weather ahead of the harvest season in October. But they're determined to keep their beans at the top of the market, supporting their local economy and providing to coffee lovers around the world. Chris Ma and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan is making a final push to remove an invasive bird species from the country. With less than 100 of them left in the wild, researchers and officials have come up with a new plan to outsmart those that remain. Sandy Chi explains.
那边有一只飞起来又下去了。
Armed with shotguns and air rifles, these people are on the riverbanks and mangroves near Taipei, hunting an invasive bird species, the African sacred ibis. These birds are not native to Taiwan, but they started breeding in the wild after 6 of them escaped from a zoo here in 1979. With no natural predators, they reproduced quickly, and the birds spread along the coast and in low-lying mountainous regions.
我们会担心说，埃及圣玄如果它的族群继续扩大的话，那可能就会威胁到我们台湾鸟类的这些大白鹭、小白鹭它的栖息环境。
Since 2014, the government has tried different ways to control the invasive ibis population, like removing eggs and fledglings from nests and setting traps for adult birds. It's been a taxing task, one that couldn't keep up with the birds' reproduction rates. It wasn't until 2020 that they started seeing substantial progress, when they started working with indigenous hunters using guns. It was an approach that some animal rights groups criticized at the time. But conservationists say protecting domestic birds is now generally accepted. And this new approach has led to the removal of more than 18,000 ibises. And officials aim to keep going until the invasive population is completely eradicated. Researchers say that working with hunters is the key to achieving this goal.
结合一些原民部落的这样的一个技能，猎人的技能，然后在保育的议题上面去执行这样的工作，在台湾至少是第一次。这样的一个机制，在配合是短期间内就有这么巨大的改变，它其实是一个我们觉得在全世界在谈外来种移除的工作上面，它是一个
Officials believe there are now fewer than 100 African sacred ibises left in the wild. With such a small population, the already difficult task has become even more challenging. The team is trying something new by planting fake ibises that play recordings of their calls. It's an approach that attracts real ibises because the birds forage in flocks.
因为活下来的这些都是幸存者，他通常都会有学习的能力，这个东西就是需要跟这些动物去斗智啊。
Now, ibis habitats across Taiwan are closely monitored. Besides hunters patrolling along the rivers in northern Taiwan almost every day, volunteers and a real-time reporting network organized by birders are on the lookout.
今天这次来的时候，我就觉得应该是成效的关系了，因为数量变越来越少了，那就代表
While the ibis has almost been eradicated, there are still lots of other invasive species in Taiwan. The common myna, giant snakehead, and many others pose threats to Taiwan's native animals and environment. And they're here only because of humans.
保育议题其实就是要去控制人所造成的问题，人不太可能消失的情况下，保育这议题就会一直永远存在。有意识到这件事情，他必须要去出来去处理这些事情。你就是需要去面对这些问题，对，因为如果你知道这个问题，然后解决不了，然后不去做，那基本上它就是越走越坏。
These conservationists are rushing to stop the spread of these invasive species before they spiral out of control. Luffy Li, Ethan Chen, PG Zhuang, and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we'll play out with some highlights from Paris Fashion Week. I'm Louise Watt. Take care. We'll see you next time.